Welcome to this week's MoneyFit Live webinar, Bankruptcy Class, the Post-Bankruptcy Debtor Education Certificate, and the frequently asked questions. My name is Todd Christensen, Education Manager at MoneyFit by DRS, and author of Everyday Money for Everyday People. Thank you for joining me. Let's go ahead and just get into this topic. Let's talk about the certificate basics. One, it is a requirement based on the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act of 2005. And that is there in that law says you have to, if you file for bankruptcy as an individual, you have to take the debtor education certificate after you file and before the court will finally discharge you of your responsibility to pay your debts. That is a requirement, and we'll get a little more into this. Who or what is it? It's a course or a class. Some attorneys and many consumers confuse the two certificates. We have another video we did previously on the pre-bankruptcy filing certificate. That's called a certificate of counseling. It's a counseling session. There is an exchange of personal information. It's customized, personalized for you. This second course is not a counseling session. You don't have any interaction providing any personalized information. It is a straight up course or class. You're going to read, or you're going to watch a video, or you're going to listen to somebody, and then you're going to answer some questions to verify that you're understanding it. That's what it is. So it is a course, not a class. If you call up a credit counseling agency that provides both certificates, and you say, I need to take the class, they're going to assume that you're talking about this second one. Don't call it a class. Call the first one a counseling. Call the second one a class. Okay, it is a general personal finance class on topics such as budgeting, saving, getting out of debt, building credit, and even how to deal with problems on your credit report. It also talks about insurance, a section on what's called risk management, or how to have appropriate insurance coverage. This is all done in about a 2-hour time frame. That's a lot of information, and it's coming at you in a hurry. But don't worry, most courses are set up so that it's very difficult. As long as you're paying attention at all, it's difficult to fail. If you are taking this online and you are letting the video roll and you walk away because you think you already know this, and you come back and then you try and take the quiz, that's probably not going to work for you. At the end, you will receive either a paper or PDF or both version of the certificate that you then have the responsibility of submitting to the court. Even if the credit or the provider has done it for you or offered to do it for you, you still need to confirm that it's there. Who needs it? All individuals filing for bankruptcy, Chapter 7, 11, 12, and 13. The 11 and 12 are very uncommon that individuals file for those bankruptcies, those chapters. By far the most common is Chapter 7, or liquidation bankruptcy. And then about 1/5 to 1/4 bankruptcies are Chapter 13, or the repayment wage earners. So most people who file and need the certificate are those who are filing 7 and 13. Corporations executives at corporations filing for bankruptcy do not need to take this or the previous certificate course, counseling or course. Couples, both individuals need to plan on taking it, be involved in it. Really, so long as, unless you have permissions directly from the court, not from your attorney, not from a credit counseling agency, not from a certificate provider, but basically from the judge that says you don't have to take it, otherwise plan on having to take it. As I mentioned, you have to get this approval from the judge. The exceptions include if one or both of the individuals filing are in a military zone. Let's say you're on active military duty in a war zone, you can look at getting an exemption from the court, but you have to get that in writing, electronically or actual paper. And then if there are other emergencies, you have to get that again in writing. Those actually are darn uncommon. We have worked with people who have not just chronic, but actual conditions, medical conditions that they are dying from, and they have expect less than a couple of months of life left, and the courts have still required them to get certificates. We've had other people who are incarcerated or whose spouse is incarcerated, and they still need to get a certificate. Can't go to can't go to a class, can't do an online class, and so sometimes they have to look at doing it by phone. Where did you get this from? Unlike the first certificate, which is only provided by approved nonprofit credit counseling agencies, this one, yes, many 501c3 nonprofit credit counseling agencies will offer this certificate, the Certificate of Counseling program, but also there are for-profit financial education companies out there that will offer you that get approved by the EOUST to issue certificates. So don't assume that just because the first certificate was done with a nonprofit, that everybody listed on the second list will be a nonprofit. Some of them are in it for the money. So do understand that there are different types. Now, who offers it? You've got to be approved by the EOUST, the Executive Office of the U.S. United States Trustee. That is a department, division, a group within the U.S. Department of Justice, and they're the ones that approve agencies to offer the certificate. It doesn't mean that they will endorse that agency or that they are guaranteeing a good service. It just means that they've been approved. You will find that list here. Don't worry about writing it down. Just write down this one, https://bit.ly, that's ly, /post-bk. That will automatically forward you to the list of approved debtor education certificate providers. And you will find, for example, MoneyFit on there. So here's the process. Here's what you will find as you go through the whole process. First, before you do anything else, decide, are you going to take it online, by phone, or in person? There are 3 different options available to you. Online is 100% online. The first certificate, the counseling certificate, even if you started online, typically you have to finish by either having a phone conversation or an exchange of emails, because it has to be that interaction with the counselor. This one, not so much, not at all. You can 100% take the course online. You can also take it 100% by phone. There are some agencies that provide this course by phone. We just haven't yet figured out how to do that without making it akin to waterboarding, because it's a 2-hour course, and generally you have to be on it for those 2 straight hours, and that is hard to be on a phone for 2 hours straight. But we do recognize that there are populations that much prefer a phone to internet or even in person. There are agencies that provide it that way. So you go to that website, bit.ly/post-bk. And then you find the one that's available, that's approved in your area to offer it the way you want it to take it. And you reach out to them, call them, touch base with them by email, or visit them in person if they are local. There just aren't that many local ones anymore. Expect to pay. Again, like the it's going to range between generally $10 on the extremely low end up to $85 on the upper end, most certificates being in that $25 to $50 range. I have here, you can qualify for a fee waiver. Typically, it's going to be that 125% of the federal poverty line, just like the pre-BK. You can almost, if a company doesn't allow you to waive your fee, check with another agency, because they are pretty much required by the EOUST to waive fees under 125% of the poverty line. That's based on where you live, the lower 48 being different than poverty line in Alaska or Hawaii. You can make your payment with a debit card, credit card, PayPal, check, cash, just depends on the agency and how they've set it up. If you are doing the online version, you can usually, as soon as you make your payment, you can qualify, you can start taking that course online just immediately. It'll issue you your course user ID and your course password with a link. In our case, for example, you register and then you can go directly to your email inbox and find it there, or sometimes it gets sent to a spam folder, but it'll have your user ID and password and the link, and you can start taking that course immediately. How long does it take? It takes a minimum, not a maximum, minimum of 2 hours. That means you should expect to be on there for at least 2 hours. You can take as long as you want. And very few people want to go more than 2 hours. But you have to finish the course and you have to spend 2 hours. There are some people that want to finish it earlier, so they'll try and click through all the sites or all the pages as fast as possible. But you'll get to the end and you'll have to wait, because it's 2 hour minimum. Programs like the one we use actually break it up into certain minutes per page, so that it works out to be just about 2 hours even if you're going through as fast as it permits you. Here's what you'll need in order to take the course. You'll need your name, your personal information, your name and address. You'll need your contact information. How do you want us to send the certificate to you? Usually that is a mailing address, or more common, your email address. And then you absolutely have to have a bankruptcy case filing number. If you don't have that case number from the courts, not attorney file number, but the bankruptcy case number, it usually starts with 2 digits representing the year in which you filed. So if you're filing in 2020, it starts with a 20 and then dash followed by 5 numbers. Some of the bankruptcy districts will add a letter in front of the case number and the 2 or 3 initials of the bankruptcy judge after. You can just ignore those. All you need is the 2 digits from the year that it was filed, after the dash, and then the 5 digits that come after that. And then you'll want your attorney's name, email address, and possible phone number, so that you can ask the provider, the certificate provider, to send your certificate to your attorney as well if you're using one. Here's what you get. You get your Certificate of Education. It is not as nice as that. This is a government authorized or government-based certificate that they're using in the courts. They just want the certificate. It's not fancy. It has your name, what it was for, the Certificate of Debtor Education, the date, your case number, the district where you are filing, and then the signature of the person who is authorizing the certificate. That's what you get. You don't get anything else. You don't need, during the first certificate of counseling, you're getting your budget, household budget, and an action plan that's been personalized for your situation. Again, that's all because that was counseling. That was personalized. This education, no. You just get the education certificate, and that's all you need. All right, let's go through some of these frequently asked questions. Can spouses take it together? Absolutely, yes. And recommended. I recommend you get it done, take it together. If spouses are not have schedules that don't work well to get this done in a hurry, then they can take it separately. Can the provider file your certificate with the courts? Generally, yes. It just depends on the certificate provider and have they set up their systems to do that. For example, so when you're done with the certificate, we email it to you after we've already uploaded it to the courts. There are just a couple of courts that, for example, that are a little more difficult to work with, and it just depends on your court. But just ask your provider as you're signing up, do you file it with the courts? It'll usually, if you're signing up online, it'll usually say somewhere that they file it for you with the courts. It does not mean you are not responsible for checking that it gets there. You still have to check with the courts to make sure that it's been filed. Same thing, even if you have an attorney, you need to confirm that it has reached the courts. Most providers of the debtor education certificate will also, if you have an attorney, will also send the attorney a copy of your certificate so they can file it if they so choose. Can you get a replacement certificate? Yes, you should be able to. It could be a maybe, depending on who you're working with. There are some cut rate agencies providing a certificate that will only respond via email. They don't, if you try and call them, you have to leave a voicemail. You will never speak with somebody in person. It's hard to get a replacement certificate from somebody who doesn't call you back within a few days or a week. Make sure, I would recommend you work with an agency where you actually get somebody, you can actually get somebody on the phone, a live person, because then they can say, you can say, okay, I missed this, the deadline is coming up in 3 hours or in 2 hours. I finished this 2 days ago or 3 days ago. The law does permit providers to take up to 3 business days to get the certificate out. But most agencies, if you tell them that there is a deadline and you really need it, they should be able to get that certificate out within an hour or 2 if you've completed it. Can you get the certificate today? Again, if you have finished it and it's not right at the end of the day, or if it's not after hours, normal business hours, quite often you can get the certificate the same business day. Does the certificate expire? No. Unlike the first certificate that expires after 180 days, this certificate is tied to the case number forever. That means if you are filing for Chapter 13, well, let's say start Chapter 7. Typically, Chapter 7 takes anywhere from 45 to 60 days to complete after you file. You can take that certificate, you can finish this program anytime. As soon as you get the case filing number, you can take this court. Attorneys often will say something about you're going to have a meeting with the creditors after about 45 days, and we have to have the certificate. We want the certificate by then. And a lot of consumers hear, because there's so much information being thrown at them by the attorney at this point, they hear that they are not supposed to take the certificate until the 45-day meeting with the creditors. That's not what it is. As soon as you have a case number, which means that's the day you file and you are assigned a case number, you can take this course and get the certificate. And it does not expire. So long as the case has not been terminated or not been discharged, that certificate is still valid. So if you have to go, if for whatever reason the case is ended and the court did not discharge you of your responsibility to file to pay your debts, and you have to file again, then you have to get a new certificate to go with that new case, that bankruptcy case. If you have power of attorney, can you take the course for a loved one or for a family member? No, you cannot. If there are emergencies I referred to earlier, you're going to have to get that approval from the courts. It is hard to do, and you're going to have to make a pretty strong argument. We've had people that are incarcerated and cannot get out of taking the course, so they have to do it by phone, and quite often that's in lots of short segments because they don't get to be on the phone that long. Or they find an agency that is willing to send them information by mail and do it basically a correspondence course, which the EOUSD doesn't really approve that, but there's ways that you can work with an agency as necessary there. Is it available in other languages? Absolutely. Most courses, most agencies like ours provide it in English and a common language like Spanish. And then if you have, or a family member would benefit from using it, doing the course in another language, ask the service provider if they do. They will either then provide you resources so that you can get an interpreter, or they will refer you to an agency listed that as a provider in that language. At the EOUSD, so you can go to bit.ly/post-bk, besides looking up by state, you can also look it up by language. So go to that website and then look up which language you want to take it in and find a provider that offers it and is approved to do so in your state. Will you be pitched other services? No. No, it is against the law, basically illegal, for an agency to try and sell you anything during this whole process. Okay? Don't accept that it's normal if an agency is trying to sell you some protective insurance for who knows what down the road. No, that's illegal. It should be reported because agencies are entrusted with a population going through a very difficult financial situation, and they should not be trying to sell them anything else. If you found anything that you like or that you've learned in this webinar, please do like us on YouTube and consider subscribing to this channel so that we can promote this great information to others, and YouTube will list us higher so that people who need this information can get it and not be sent to not so trustworthy agencies or organizations and scammers. Thank you. If you would like a certificate for this specific informational class, this is not a certificate for the courts. If you want a certificate for the courts and you're looking for it through us, you go to moneyfit.org and you look under our bankruptcy service. But if you would like a certificate as learning as far as showing that you've gone through this 20-minute or 30-minute webinar, just so that you can say, I know how it works, then go to moneyfit.org/live. You will enter in your name, your email address, the name, how do you want it on the certificate, the email address, where you want the certificate sent, state where you live, and then identify the course being Post-BK. And then the passcode is my2020post. No spaces, no dashes, MY2020 POST, all lowercase, no uppercase at all. Thank you. I appreciate your time here today. If you have any questions, do call me at 208-286-3283. Email me at todd@moneyfit.org. Glad to hear from you. Look forward to helping however we can. I hope you have a great day.